What if I told you that your brain is aging faster than you are? A major study from the Mayo Clinic just found that chronic insomnia is linked to cognitive decline, comparable to being 4 years older. This isn't just being tired. This is the neurological price you are paying night after night for poor sleep. We are in a global sleep deprivation crisis. We wear our lack of sleep like a badge of honor. I'll sleep when I'm dead. But the damage isn't just cognitive, it's emotional, it's physical. In this video, we are going to explore the terrifying nunga of what is actually happening inside your brain when you consistently sleep less than 7 hours, why you become more anxious and emotional. We'll look at the physical waste removal system in your brain that only runs when you're in deep sleep, and we'll uncover the frightening link between chronic insomnia and a 40% higher risk of dementia. But you are not going to leave this video terrified. You are going to leave it with a plan. Most importantly, I will show you a powerful, science-backed protocol to help your brain recover. A tool that can calm your nervous system and reteach your body how to rest. This is the story of your brain on sleep and how to save it. Let's start with the most immediate feeling. Why is it that after just one bad night of sleep, you feel irritable, anxious, and emotionally unstable? Why do small problems suddenly feel like global catastrophes? The answer isn't, you're just grumpy. The answer is that your brain has been fundamentally hijacked. It lies in the relationship between two critical parts of your brain. First, you have the amygdala. Think of the amygdala as your brain's emotional gas pedal. It's your primitive, emotional reaction center. It's responsible for fear, anxiety, and aggression. It's your fight or flight hub. Now, sitting right behind your forehead, you have the prefrontal cortex, or the the payout of your brain. It's the brakes. It's the highly evolved, logical, rational part that controls decision-making, emotional regulation, and judgment. In a healthy, well-rested brain, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex are beautifully connected. They talk to each other constantly. Your amygdala might fire off saying panic, that email from your boss looks threatening, but your prefrontal cortex steps in, pumps the brakes, and says, hold on, let's read it rationally. It's just a question, we are not in danger. But what happens when you are sleep deprived? Professor Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley discovered something astonishing. Just one night of poor sleep causes the amygdala to become hyperactive. In his studies, the sleep-deprived amygdala showed a 60% increase in reactivity. Your emotional gas pedal is now slammed to the floor, but that's not the worst part. Sleep deprivation severs the communication line between your logical prefrontala. Your GAO has been put on forced leave. Your brakes are gone. You are left with a 60% more reactive emotional center and zero rational control. This is why, when you are tired, you are impulsive. This is why you pick fights, why you eat junk food, and why you feel a crushing sense of anxiety that you just can't think your way out of. You can't. The part of your brain that does the rational thinking is offline. You are all gas pedal, all raw emotion. And while that emotional instability feels terrible, it's just the beginning. The damage you can't feel, the silent damage happening over years, is where the story gets truly terrifying. To understand the long-term physical damage, we have to talk about Alzheimer's disease. For decades, we've known that Alzheimer's is associated with the buildup of a toxic protein in the brain called beta amyloid. Think of it as plaque that clogs up the connections between your brain cells, eventually killing them. For a long time, the question was, why does this plaque build up in some people and not others? The answer, it turns out, has everything to do with what happens when you sleep. You see, your body has a Glymphatic System that clears metabolic waste from your cells. But the brain is a closed system. It needed its own version. In 2012, researchers discovered that the brain has its own dedicated waste removal system. They named it the Glymphatic System. Here's how it works. During the day, as your brain works hard, it produces toxic byproducts, including that beta amyloid protein. This waste just sits there. But then when you go into deep REM, non-REM sleep, a remarkable thing happens. Your brain cells actually shrink, opening up channels between them. Your brain then pumps cerebrospinal fluid through these channels at high speed. Power dash, washing the toxins out of your brain and flushing them down into your liver for disposal. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering. But here is the critical, terrifying catch. The glymphatic system only activates during deep sleep. It does not work when you're awake. It barely works when you're in light sleep. It needs deep restorative sleep to turn on the clean crew. When you skip sleep, you skip the cleanup. Do that for one night and you wake up with a dirty brain too. Is why you feel that brain fog and mental slowness. Do that for a month and those toxins are building up. Do that for 10, 20, or 30 years and you are, night after night, contributing to the exact pathological brain state required for Alzheimer's disease. This isn't speculation. The data is now overwhelming. The Mayo Clinic study I mentioned, it found that people with chronic insomnia had higher levels of amyloid plaque and cognitive decline. A massive 2024 meta-analysis confirmed that insomnia is a significant risk factor for developing Alzheimer's later in life. R out of 1.43. This is why many scientists no longer see poor sleep as just a symptom of Alzheimer's. They see it as a potential cause, and this toxic buildup doesn't just threaten your memory, it threatens your life. This isn't just a disease. For the elderly, the CDC and the American Heart Association now both list sleep deprivation, but getting less than 7 hours a night, a major risk factor for high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. One study from Yale even found that suboptimal sleep was linked to silent brain injuries, small lesions in the brain that are precursors to stroke and cognitive decline. You are not getting away with it. You are simply deferring the payment. So this leads to the next logical question. How does our body even know? How does it know when to be awake and when to turn on the cleanup crew? Your entire body, every cell, every organ, governed by a master clock. It's called your circadian rhythm. This is your 24-hour internal clock, and it's regulated primarily by one thing, light. Here's the simple, elegant process that we have systematically destroyed. In the evening, as light begins to fade, a signal is sent from your eyes to your brain. In response, a tiny gland in your brain, the pineal gland, begins to release a hormone called melatonin. Now, most people misunderstand melatonin. It's not a sleep aid, like a sleeping pill. It doesn't force you to sleep. Melatonin is the hormone of darkness. It is the official starter's pistol for the race of sleep. It simply tells your brain and body, it is dark, the conditions are now ripe for sleep, prepare for shutdown. As melatonin rises, your body temperature begins to drop, your heart rate slows. At the same time, in a healthy cycle, your primary stress hormone, cortisol, should be at its lowest point of the entire day. High melatonin, low cortisol. This is the perfect biological state for sleep. And then we do this. We blast our eyes with bright blue wavelength light from our phones, our tablets, our TVs, and our computers. Hours after the sun has set, this artificial light hits the receptors in your eyes and sends a frantic signal to your brain. It's daytime. It's daytime. Stay awake. Your brain, confused, immediately suppresses the release of melatonin. Simultaneously, because you are staring at stimulating content, stressful work, emails, anxiety, inducing news, endless social media feeds, your body continues to pump out cortisol. So now at 11 p.m., you are in a state of low melatonin, high cortisol. This is the biological opposite of the state required for sleep. You are in a fight or flight state. Even when you're just lying in bed, you've told your brain it's noon and you've told your body it's being chased by a tiger. And then you wonder why you can't fall asleep. When you finally do fall asleep out of sheer exhaustion, you get shallow sleep. You miss the critical deep REM sleep cycles. And as we just learned, if you miss deep sleep, you miss the clean crew. The toxins from the day remain. The Amygdala stays hyperactive. The prefrontal cortex stays offline. This is the cycle, night after night. Okay, you're convinced. You're sleep-deprived, your brain is in trouble, and you're probably feeling anxious just listening to this. How do you fix it? You've tried sleep hygiene, you've tried supplements, you've tried just relaxing. I want to introduce you to a powerful practical tool, one that doesn't just manage sleep, but actively treats the root cause of the problem. A chronically over-stimulated nervous system. This tool is called Yoga Nidra, which translates from Sanskrit to yogic sleep. But let's be very clear. This is not sleep. It's also not yoga in the way you might think. There are no poses, no stretching, no effort. Yoga Nidra is a form of guided meditation, practiced lying down, that is specifically designed to put your brain and body into a unique state, hypnagogic state. This is the state you experience in a few moments just before you fall asleep. You're not quite awake, but you're not fully asleep. It is a state of profound rest. So, why does this work? What's the science? Remember that fight or flight state driven by cortisol? That is your sympathetic nervous system. This is where most of us live. All day long stressed, alert, and wired. Yoga Nidra is a technique that intentionally activates its opposite, your parasympathetic nervous system. This is your rest and digest state. When you are guided through a Yoga Nidra script, you are systematically taken through a series of body scans, breath awareness, and visualizations. This process does several things. It slows your brain waves from an active beta state down to a relaxed alpha or even theta state. It measurably lowers your heart rate and blood pressure. Most importantly, it tells your hyperactive amygdala, you are safe, the threat is gone, you can power down. It is, in effect, a manual override for your stress response. Studies have shown it is incredibly effective at reducing anxiety, chronic stress, and treating insomnia. It helps teach your brain and nervous system how to power down. A skill many of us have simply forgotten. You are training your brain to let go. You can pair this practice with simple, gentle stretches just before bed to release the physical tension your body has been holding all day. You don't need a full yoga routine. Just try these. 1. Legs dash up, dash the dash wall. Viparita Karani. Then lie on the floor and swing your legs straight up against a wall. This is fantastic for circulation and instantly calms the nervous system. 2. Bound angle pose, Baddha Konasana, Bung. Sit. Bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees fall out to the sides. This releases tension in the hips, where we store a lot of stress. 3. Happy baby pose, Ananda Balasana. Lie on your back, grab the outside of your feet, and gently pull your knees toward your armpits. This releases the entire lower back. These simple movements, combined with a Yoga Nidra practice, send an undeniable signal to your entire body. The day is over. It is time to rest. Your brain is aging. Your emotions are being hijacked by a hyperactive amygdala, and the cleanup crew is being blocked night after night. The evidence is clear, but the damage is not permanent if you act. Your brain has an incredible, profound capacity to heal, but it cannot do it alone. It needs you to give it the one thing it cannot function without: sleep. Sleep is not a luxury. It is not an inconvenience. It is a non-negotiable biological necessity. It is your brain's cleanup crew, your emotional stabilizer, and your master reset button. So here is your challenge. Your challenge tonight is not to try to sleep. That just creates more anxiety. Your challenge is simply to try to rest. Find a 10 or 20-minute Yoga Nidra script on this platform or any other. Lie down in the dark, put your phone away, and just listen. You don't have to fall asleep. That's not the goal. The goal is to consciously activate your rest and digest nervous system. Just give your brain the signal it has been begging you for. The signal that, for today, the fight is over, and it is finally safe to recover.